Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you had a great time exploring these different scales. Now we kind of were zooming in, right? So you looked into an individual scale. Now we're going to zoom out. So Elias is going to facilitate, how can we cultivate regenerative paradigms across these different scales? So over to you, Elias.
Thank you. So in my perspective, I believe, since as I was talking in the room, since we have the privilege of having internet and having this capacity to connect across region and across the world, and also have the language to speak and to connect with other people around the world. So it feels almost like a responsibility to reach out and to connect and to co-build. And it's also a great source of learning. Like this is like the conversation we had with Crystal in our room, and we shared about it in the Miro board. And for now, yeah. So if we can take some time to look at the Miro board so to look at the Miro board and reflect add observation reflect on different scales, and try to find like patterns, try to find together, try to see what patterns are emerging from what is being shared in the Miro board. So we can take 4 to 5 minutes to observe what was shared there and what patterns are emerging. To share about a pattern they saw the Miro board.
To share briefly. I just love the weaving between the different layers, some of the things that show up in both in several areas, and fascinated by this community piece of developing trust, as well as something mentioned in the network of positionality and being aware of power and privilege as we kind of re-indigenize or decolonize our practices, and so I just find it really a beautiful map here of things. Thank you.
Anyone else?
See that somebody is actually drawing arrows in the Miro board. I'd be curious to hear from that person. Like, what are the connections that you're seeing, if you want to share?
Whenever your Miro board becomes differently organized in a workshop, it's my fault. I had one friend, he had organized everything in little things, and I was like, moved it around, and he organized it passive-aggressively. No. So in our session, I think a key idea that came up is because the more global you go, the more out of the bubble you are, and the more different movements and such you connect with. So I gave the example, for example, an amazing change maker in Poland that's working with farmers, moving them towards regenerative practices. She doesn't use the language of regeneration at all. She talks about livelihoods, improving condition of the soil, and speaks to their actual problems that they have in a language that makes sense to them. So I think this idea, there is so many amazing, and for me working on the gathering, there is circular economy, there is nature positive businesses, there's 101 different groups going very deep, reinventing our world using different languages. And the more big picture you want to be, the more it's important to be flexible about the language and recognize the spirit underneath of what people are doing. So those are the connections that I made, that I saw there, the searching for the common intention, connecting across different worldviews, which is reflected in different languages.
Beautiful. Thank you, Victor. We have 2 more minutes. If anyone else wants to share.
I would like to react on Victor, what he said, because it resonates so much. And I was last week on a symposium in Switzerland where they were asking what is regenerative economy. And there they had no clear vision of it, not what Haja said was sharing at the beginning. So it was the academics had, but then in the discussion, everybody has his own concept. And then it was a little bit dangerous or foggy. And but so I think it's crucial to link this freedom of speech and individual situations where you want to look for the interface with some strong principles. So do both at the same moment.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Michelle.
I would like to echo what Matthias said and also what Victor was saying. I work across many cultures, and it's super annoying, but very useful to have like a glossary and to show a spectrum of the same definition. Because like regeneration itself, there's a spectrum, like from sustainability all the way to like we are nature. And those have worldviews that could overlap and sometimes they don't. And just having like a sense of, it's good to know that there's an alignment, but maybe not an agreement. So that same word reciprocity or honoring a harvest means that, in different ways that's done differently. The same thing with like honoring the land. So you can have umbrellas and then examples so that it kind of gives you a sense of the specificity and not trying to make it a monoculture. But that means that at the start of any sort of activity, we need to actually invest in really understanding where people's stories are coming from and not try and make them into one.
Maybe we can move to the next part with Victor.
Yes, so connecting actually with what Michelle just said, and there's so many people doing amazing work. And at the same time, we're all different people. And I'm sure if any pair of people here spent long enough, you could find 2 or 5 or 10 things you vehemently disagree about because it's a complicated world. But it's more interesting to find the 1 or 2 things which we agree enough that we want to support each other on. So that's the spirit of the gathering. If you're interested in a theoretical philosophical basis about this, there is work of David Snowden around complexity, where he says, just go down to a simpler and simpler thing until you can find something to agree on to do together. Even if it just means making lunch, at least you're doing something, progress is being made. So now the invitation based on this session here, which has been wonderful, but as always too short, is for everybody to think based on this inspiration here on some action you would like to take in the next few weeks, following one or multiple of these strands that you would like to share with us. Share this action and then also share how you would like to connect. This can be a need, for example, so I would like to find partners for my project in this area, and I have a need for somebody to help me ideate how to do this. Or it can be an offer. I love to help people brainstorm communication strategies. So this is the invitation now, and it's being posted there. What action would you like to take in inspiration from this session? And what offer do you have of need or support? And both are offers. asking, and this is a key thing, by the way, everybody, we all need to learn how to ask for help, because it's as much of a gift as giving help is. And together with that, post however way you'd like to be contacted, and we will share this with all participants. So yeah, let's do it. I love it. I love how the offers are spanning the whole, or the invitations are spanning the whole spectrum from the inner to the global. It just shows that, yeah, regeneration is all of those things, right? And this is the other thing. I think it's also next to language, and it's connected with language. It's really important to welcome and encourage people to start where they are. Some people say you have to start with inner development. Some people say you have to start with something else. And I think that whilst all of the levels are important, the most important is to create a welcoming environment, and that people start where they are and focus on things which are problems to them now. As with the friend who's working with farmers on soil, of course, they have all other kinds of challenges and stuff, but the one around soil and livelihood is absolutely immediate. So that's the place to start.
Yeah, thank you for this invitation, Victor. Yeah, just an observation based on my personal journey, as it relates to inner work and its capacity to bring about wider transformations in other scales. I've noticed that as part of my kind of personal development, spiritual development, however you may want to call this, the boundary between the individual, so myself, and others and the world has become thinner and thinner. And my sense, my way of kind of characterizing myself, or my way of identifying, has become increasingly more related to being part of this larger organism that the Earth is, and even wider, being part of the cosmos, being a manifestation of life, rather than being this physical body that I inhabit, or this persona, the various personas that I play or I am during my social interactions. So I just find that, kind of ironic that we're seeing this individual sphere, but that when you actually get that work done, that sphere is no longer relevant. It ceases to exist in a sense. And yeah, I find that pretty beautiful.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's time for the big surprise. Remember, Pooja said when we did the first exercise, there's going to be a surprise. So please, Yagnmor, Hajar, Pooja, lead us through that.
Yes, thank you, Adrian, and thank you everyone for just your presence here. And earlier in the call, we asked you to share a phrase, a sentence, something that you are offering from your ecosystem of practice of what building a regenerative future would look and feel like. And based on your offerings, we've woven together a collective poem and a prayer, which we're gonna share in the chat, and we'll just read it out to you. All lives supporting each other, sacred reciprocity, pulsing with kindness and creativity, breathwork and connection, aligning with the patterns of life to thrive, building the capacity to stand beside each other, not above or below, cultivating humility, healing.
Surface our shared purpose. May we care for 7 generations. Start from within and increase the coherence every day, step by step. Respectful towards the human and more than human. Peace and balance with the more than human world, also known as nature, biosphere, Gaia. Remembering our wholeness.
Humans and the rest of nature collaborating. Co-collaborators with all that lives, bringing harmony to all lives. rebalancing masculine and feminine forces of creation, shared ecology of kindness and compassion, strong bases to flourish, intersecting warp and weft, creating a web of support.
Thank you so much for putting together the poem and reading it out. Yeah, this concludes the session. I hope you all found it meaningful. I certainly did. Thanks so much to Yagmur, Victor, Ilyas, Hajar, and Pooja for co-facilitating, for holding space. Thanks to all of you for showing up and engaging and co-creating. We're going to follow up with these chat pieces in a follow-up email, so you can see, you know, like what are other people doing, and you can keep on connecting. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and hope to see you soon again. You can unmute yourself and say goodbye in your like your own language, your native language, and then that concludes the session. So from me, that's German. So I'm going to say tschüss. Have a good time. Ciao, ciao.
Görüşürüz.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Tschüss.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Oi.
Tschüss.